Hello, everyone. Welcome to
Hi,
another event of Ladies at UX Milan. Hi, how are you doing? How is everything, Ilaria and Laura? How are you today?
I'm fine. And you?
Good. Ila,
Sorry,
how are you?
my micro was mute. This is the Hera word. I'm on mute. I'm fine, thanks you girls. So let's start.
Yes. So yesterday it was the International Women's Day, and it was a day to remind us that every day we're closer to our goals and the positions and places that we want to achieve as women. I also would like to celebrate the amazing women that work with me. Uh, Also, thanks, Ilaria and Laura, uh, because when one of us reach a leadership position, it represents also a victory for us. So I would like to celebrate that. Cheers to everyone, to all the amazing women out there. So about today's panel. Today we are hosting Érica Moreti and Federica Pascotto to talk about their experience with inclusion. So please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to write them on the comments or in the chat that they are going to be answered along the way. Also, this event is hosted by Sketch. So by the end of the event, we're going to give away 2 licenses. Also, let me just, sorry. So if you like to win a license from Sketch, please go to this link on the comments that you are going to be applying, and then by the end of the event, we're going to give this license, 2 license to people that are watching this live. So stay tuned to the end of the event because you're going to raffle the license. Also, I would like to remember you folks that this event is recorded and will be here in case you miss it. Also, it's the first time that we're hosting an event in this new channel. So Ladies That UX in English with all the content in English of all the chapters of Ladies That UX is going to be available here. About the agenda of today, today's event is going to be, we're going to do an introduction about Ladies at UX Milan. Then we're going to start the panel. And then our guests will be open to Q&A. And then we do a closure at 9 p.m. So don't forget to subscribe. Please write on the comments, where are you watching us from? So I'm going to start the presentation about Ladies at UX Milan. As you may know, if you follow us, you can see that this amazing design was made by Laura, and we're introducing this this design here today. So we are Ladies That UX. Ladies That UX is Ladies That UX Milan is part of a global community made of 85 amazing chapters across the globe. Also, we are informal and friendly community, and our goal is to promote and encourage women that work in UX and in tech. Our chapters are 85, as I said before, and 26 in Europe, Middle East, and yes, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Also, Ladies That UX Milan is the first chapter here in Italy. Sorry. These are the chapter leaders that are going to guide you on this event. I'm Mariana Ozaki. I'm a service interaction designer. I'm also director of EMEA region here at Ladies That UX, also one of the chapter leaders of Ladies That UX Milan. I would like to describe myself for accessibility purposes. I'm a Asian woman with medium length hair, let's say. Now it's grown because of pandemic reasons. I'm using a green blouse, also using a necklace and some headphones.
Hi everyone, I'm Ilaria Farina. I'm one of the chapter leaders of this wonderful chapter here in Milan of Ladies That UX. I'm working as a user experience designer here in Milan, actually from home, as everybody, as everyone else, I'm guessing. For accessibility, I can describe myself with brown. I have brown hair. I'm wearing glasses, and now I'm wearing a kind of a white shirt, I guess, with I don't know really how to describe this kind of thing that I have on my shoulders, which we'll say a jumper. Let's say jumper, and welcome everyone.
Hi everyone, I'm Laura. I'm an UX designer too. I'm wearing a jumper too. It's blue and brown. I have really short hair and brown eyes, and I'm so glad to be here. Although I'm very shy, so I'm sorry, but I'm glad to be here. Welcome everyone.
Yes, also we would like to introduce Laura as a chapter leader now, because in the last event she was a co-organizer, and now she's been promoted as a chapter leader, and now she's part of our team, guiding and leading this amazing chapter with me and Ilaria.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. So these are our social media channels. Please connect with us. Basically everything, all the links are Ladies at UX Milan. And also don't forget to join us on Slack. And this is the last picture of this amazing community when we had the opportunity of being together last year. Yeah, I miss everyone, and I miss a lot doing in-person events, but hopefully we are going to have this situation back soon. Also, if you have any feedbacks, if you would like to join us as a speaker, if you would like to ask for advice, or if you want to help us as a volunteer, also any questions you have, any observations, please write on our email. Also, I would like to take the opportunity of saying that we closed our application for the volunteers, and we already chose 2 amazing volunteers that I think they are watching us today. I can see from the chat. But then we're going to introduce them in the next event. So thank you very much, Aurora and Érica, for joining our team. So let me stop the presentation. So I would like to do an introduction of the panel. We're going to talk about inclusion. And every design decision has the potential to include or exclude customers, as we all know. Inclusive design emphasizes the contribution that understanding user diversity makes to informing these decisions, and thus to including as many people as possible. User diversity covers variations in capabilities, needs, and aspirations. Inclusive design is about serving all types of people and being exceptionally aware of our biases when creating projects. If you're doing it right, you're building a product that is usable for people from all backgrounds, including disabled people. The truth is, inclusive design is just better design. And now I'm going to introduce our amazing guests, Federica and Érica, who are joining us today.
Hi there.
So Érica would like to introduce yourself.
Of course. Thank you. Should I describe myself as you guys did?
Yes. Sure.
Okay. So, Latin woman, around 40s, long or mid-long hair, brown eyes, wearing a t-shirt, a black t-shirt, and 3 necklaces. So this is Érica here. What I do is to head up Continuum Milan team and innovation team for Europe and Middle East for EPAM, which is the company who acquired us a couple of years ago. So I do lead an amazing team of mixed background designers from industrial design, spatial design, UX, strategy, service design, into different typologies of projects. So I'm here to share a little bit more of my experience with you. Nice to meet you all.
Amazing. Thank you, Érica. Federica?
Hello. Hello, everybody. I'm Federica. Description, well, I'm almost 50. I have short hair. Many are silver, I have to confess. I'm Italian. I'm wearing a gray shirt and a necklace. And I wear glasses, but I've taken them off. And professionally speaking, I am an education consultant. I've always been working in museum education. So design is part of the process. I design services and products for diverse targets and publics, to make it short.
Thank you. Also, Federica, by the way, is my ex-boss. So it's amazing to be hosting her today. So would you like to also tell us more about what you currently? Who wants to start?
Should I go first? Well, heading that team, well, what I do now is heading both of those teams into different design challenges that can be more or less inclusive, depending on the ask on that specific project. And I do support clients and partners around the company in not only growing the business, but developing the capabilities for the different design units we do have internally. I'm not a UXer. I'm a strategist by background, an industrial designer, but I do work as UXer sometimes as well.
Cool. Federica, would you like to tell us more about what you do?
Yes. I run a small company which is called Art Stories, and it is where I met Mariana some years ago, and we publish and develop educational apps on cultural heritage for kids, with the idea of making cultural heritage and art and history accessible to younger children and their families. So this is one side of the business. On the other hand, as I mentioned, I'm a museum professional, so I've always been working in museums with exactly the same aim as Art Stories, so as to make complex contents such as archaeology or contemporary art, which are perceived as very complex, to all people from all backgrounds and with different cultural backgrounds or education, different provenance, and different needs. So I think that accessibility and inclusion are a very big theme when culture is concerned. And what I do is developing and designing experiences in physical spaces or online.
Okay, great. Valentina asked, I did not understand the name of Federica's company. She said, Art
It's
Stories.
Art Stories.
I will write on the comment as well.
We will write it down.
Thank you. So you both experienced inclusion in different fields. Can you give us an example of what's your role working with inclusion?
Sure. Should I start? It depends. I guess it depends on the typology of projects we're talking about, right? So inclusion and inclusivity can be declined differently according to the goal. If we're talking about industrial design, I guess it's the old and good universal design, right? When we're talking about ergonomics and the sizes of space and the accessibility of spaces for them to be more inclusive. If we're talking about strategies, how can we include certain typologies of users? That can be special need users or specific category of users. If we think about gender or diversity topics, and if we talk about UX, so how can the different users be included on a platform, in an experience? How can they experience at its best those different things? So I guess the role changes according to what we're doing. So there are many different ways we can drop that inclusivity in the project. And our role changes, but I guess the only thing that remains the same is us as designers or consultants or technologists pushing for having that, pushing for opening the space to redesign and consider users at their best with their differences, with their uniqueness and peculiarities. So I guess it states for the pillars of user-centered design, right? So how can we understand better users and make sure that we're including them in everything we do? Be then specific or related to a specific task in an interaction or a platform. That's my initial take. Federica, I don't know if you would like to comment on that.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about, even if I'm working on another. I mean, the lines, the guidelines are very much the same. It's the environment which is a bit different somehow. And I'm talking specifically about museums, where I think the need, the aim to include as many people as possible is quite recent. It's not, I think it's, more recent than universal design, but I don't know. And the process in museums has started by working on specific targets. So, say, school children, according to the age group, or universities according to their general needs on content, or elderly people, people with different sorts of cognitive, do you say cognitive? I'm inventing it. I don't know if it's an English word or I made it up. So with cognitive needs or physical needs. The physical needs were the first to be acknowledged. So there was a specific law that at some point said, okay, museums, you need to be accessible. But everything else is also very important, and it came later. So, for instance, it's a matter of, I don't know, how you tell things, the language you choose, how complex, how sophisticated you try to be, and by doing so, how many people you make run out of the museum. So it's it's a matter of language, it's a matter of content, it's a matter of experience, of rhythm, because we're talking about a physical journey inside a physical space. So what we do is to try and understand what's better for certain, can we say, typologies of public. And then the truth is that at the end of the day, what is well designed, say for elderly people, so you pause, you sit, you stop, and such things, then works for any other kind of public. And as you mentioned, good design is for everybody. So this is what we try and do. I don't know if it makes sense.
Sure, makes sense. I would like to explore more about this topic then. When you say about like that the inclusion has been applied to the museums and to this experience recently, how recent we're talking about?
I would say, well, it's a long time, but I don't think it's more than 15, 20 years. So it's quite recent. And it started, and it started on specific needs. And I think that the next step is to mix the publics. So not to design something that works really nicely for people with dementia, but to be able to engage different people in that specific context, which is the museum. Because I think that meeting people with different needs and exchanging different point of views in a special environment such as a museum can be super enriching for everybody. But it takes a long time. I mean, it's a very long process because you need, as a museum professional, you need to be confident about what you can do and how you can do it with kids, let's say, which is an easy public, sort of. And then when you're very confident with working with, 8 years old, you can jump and do something else with, children who have disabilities, and you know what is working in average situation, and you can jump to a different one. So this is what people tend to do, and it takes a long time. And it's always very much practice-led. So you need to be confident and a bit brave. I mean, you try, you make mistakes, you try again till you find the right way. So it's a long process.
I don't know what you think about that, Federica, but sometimes I believe it never really started. Designed to be totally inclusive, right? Mm-hmm. So we try and we start some projects around inclusivity, but truth is that there's a long road.
Yes, very long.
So to your question, Mariana, when does it start? We started to talk more about that, but my sensation is that we never started.
Not enough.
Not enough, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree.
For instance, if you think about museums, even by stepping in and reading the captions, and sometimes they are this small, so difficult to read. The 80% of the words which are in the captions or in the panels are meant to be understood by scholars, or were meant to be understood by scholars only. So your common man, can you say that? So whoever, I mean, not with 3 PhDs in that subject, cannot understand. So what are you doing there? And it's still very much a problem. Even the communication system, and with communication I mean all the infos you find around, everything. It's getting better, it's getting much better, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, even for, as you said before, for average people, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about very peculiar contexts, we were designing, we started a research and we're designing an interface for autistic kids. So since you were talking about learning before, right?
Yes.
How do they learn? How they can learn the tasks to actually be able to perform autonomously any kinds of activities. So for example, drinking a cup of coffee in the morning. So they need to learn how to do that task. So imagine this person joining a company, or learning at school, or going to a museum and trying to navigate that environment.
Yeah.
It's crazy scary.
Yeah.
So how do we change the experience to actually be enable different people, average people, but also visually impaired, or every sort of necessities to actually be able to enjoy any experience? And it's surprisingly big, the communities we do have with special needs. So I don't believe we're doing enough in design to actually sustain that. And we should.
Yeah. Yes, it's true. Because I think we design sometimes for the needs that we are used to. Like there's a world out there that we have no idea about, and we need to study. And I think we need to test with people with disabilities, or people with specific needs, to know, and to, like, by interviewing them, talking to them, to see their experience and the way that they live. Because, like, I think designing also products and services based on assumptions is very wrong.
Well, to be honest, we design them on business, right? And how much is the user actually considered? In many cases, they are not. So that's why we do advocate for human-centered design. But it still needs to be done business-wise. There are few companies who are actually thinking about that because of the new trend of diversity and inclusivity that's emerging again right now, right? So thinking about, we're doing a project right now for a festivals company in Middle East, and they are trying to launch the first program of inclusivity and diversity. It's Middle East, right? Also, this topic's very complicated there as well. So even the understanding of diversity is different from what we have here. But there are not many companies actually thinking about dropping those programs. They do have internal code of conduct, right, for inclusivity in terms of female leadership, or special needs employees, or diverse in terms of nationality, of origins, types of profiles. But to be honest, what we do out of that for clients is still very much business driven. Sure. So how much a business would be interested in exploring all the possibilities instead of having the easiest and fastest solution they might have that might not work for anyone.
It's true.
So just thinking about major part of insurances, for example, the experiences, major part of the logos are red. How many people can actually read those things?
Yeah.
So there are many possibilities within that, right? If we talk about societal inclusivity as well, immigration. So how can we include those people into the society, in the economy, in the learning processes? So that's inclusivity as well, right? So it changes according to the challenge we have, but what remains the same is the need to be more or less exclusive and much more broader.
Open.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a topic that can be also very polemic to some people, but I really believe that I think business should also see the value of taking consideration the minorities to create new experiences and projects like that. It's really amazing to hear that. So do you guys think that designing for inclusion requires specific mindsets or skills? What do you think about that?
I think it requires attention more than skills or mindset, right? It's just to remember that we need to be broader. It would be great to have different people on the projects as well. So we could actually start with that mindset, and creating a diverse team. I think it's the first step to actually reach that. But I don't see as a specific need, in terms of skill. It's more of the group and the attention you put to the topic. Sorry, Federica, I hijacked you.
No, I totally agree. And I think you touched a very crucial point, because you need to design your, whatever it is, product or project or service or whatever, with the help of the community you're trying to reach. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense and it's not going to work. So having a diverse team does help a lot. Yeah, you always have bias and prejudices. So, I mean, even if you think you don't, so it's very nice to have a diverse team and be able to see things from different perspectives.
To mix up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So also nowadays, talking about inclusion in design is like a requested topic, but there is always a first time though. Do you remember how was your first time designing for inclusion? How was the project you were in? How was it?
Well, it's a long time ago. First thing that comes to my mind is actually on industrial design space, right? So I used to design for automotive. And in that case, you always need to plan for different typologies of bodies, of capabilities in terms of driving, for necessities. So in that case, a car is always planned to be as diverse as possible with the accessories and technologies that might enable people to actually use the machine, using the car in different ways. I guess that's the first moment. It's not the same thing. I realize that as diversity and inclusion, but it talks about the universal design we were talking about before, and how it all started to be included in design. It did transform in time, of course, and it's transforming again. But that's the first thing I can recall, project-wise, I think.
Federica, how was your first experience working with inclusion?
I think it happened to me by accident, let's say. When I enrolled my first daughter to primary school, I just signed up to the school nearby. It's like, I don't know, 3 minutes walk from my house, without actually making any sort of research. I just said, okay, that's very close. And so here we go. And when she started, I discovered that the school was involved in a special program, which was called Vivilis, which meant teaching the Italian sign language to all children attending the school. And so to have a bunch of deaf kids joining the lectures and being in a school where all children could speak their native language. And so that was quite a discovery. And I thought it was so interesting as an experiment. I mean, to make everybody capable of speaking a different language, even in a very, say, rough way. But kids were taught to use Italian Sign Language, and they could communicate with their peers, deaf peers, so that everybody was there using the same language, which seems easy, and it's not. And so by meeting this experience by accident, I tried to do the same in the museum. So using the Italian Sign Language as how could I say? It was used as a sort of trigger to play and learn in the museum, but it could make hearing kids able to play with their deaf peers and vice versa. And it was super interesting, and it was super hard. I mean, finding the right way, finding the right process, and communicating it the right way. It's been a tough job. It's been successful under some aspects and less under some others. So, but we've moved on. That was my beginning.
Nice. So I would like to invite people that are watching us to ask questions. I will bring back Ilaria for
Hi, everyone.
questions that we have here.
Yeah, we have one from Valentina Costa. When we talk about inclusive design in language, do we also mean the use of elements such as schwa? Am I pronounce it correctly? I guess so. Did you understand the question, or?
Designing language, what do you mean about designing language? In spoken language, or in general?
I think she meant by non-binary language. I don't know if it's the case. Please let us know. Like saying, I don't know in Italian, but I know in Portuguese, you know, instead of amiga, amigo, amigue.
Yep.
I think schwa would be like that, translated to that. I'm not sure.
But do you, Valentina, mean in changing the language we do use every day, or designing this language, this new language, or applying that to specific projects? It can be through interfaces or voice interactions or spaces, etc.
Okay, I mean in general, for example, for some pamphlet or description of peers of art.
That's something that's been implemented in many companies, which is, what's your pronoun, right? How would you like to be called? So you don't actually, if it's a generic type of communication, it's something that you can use, of course. Or you can be more specific, tailoring the communication to the pronoun the different people chose to be called as. As for example, Érica Moreti, her and hers, instead of they, or instead of our, right? So you can tailor the language according to the specific context, or you can communicate in short language for a generic profile. It's not really used right now in some countries more than other ones. So for example, in Brazil, Mariana was mentioning before, it's really used everywhere, and it's dropped into the different communications in all types of touch points you can imagine. In Italy, we're not using that too much yet. In US, they're starting to implement that. So it really depends on the maturity or how much the diversity and inclusivity topics are hot in the specific country. But to your question, yes, it could be used. Not only that one, but think about visually impaired people, or as Federica was saying before, deaf people. How could they actually read those communications or feel those communications? There are many other languages that we can design as well to improve that inclusivity.
Okay, I guess you replied to Valentina's question. Valentina, if you have something else, just write it on the comments. And Federica, would you add something else?
No, I don't. I didn't even know what schwa was, so I went to look it up on Google in the meantime. So if Valentina means a simplified language with less varied forms, I've never done that, and I don't actually believe. I don't know. I think language has its own value, and I like using a nice language when I can. And I think, like in descriptions or in working, one should, I don't know, try to use the right words without, I don't even know the English word for it. Banalize, can you say banalize? So we need to be able to simplify without banalizing the language, and it's something difficult to learn to do.
Okay, Valentina says thank you. Valentina, if you have something else to ask, just write it down. We have another question from Érica. So Érica asks, how can we as designers advocate for inclusion even if the client doesn't see the value? That's a good one. Who wants to start?
Can I say something very quickly? It's like, for instance, when you have this topic, the first question is when you are like suggesting to an institution, because I'm talking about cultural institutions, let's do something, let's say, for visually impaired people. First question, how many are they? So is this going to be relevant for a large bunch of public? And then we can, I don't know, monetize with the tickets, or even if it's not money, is going to be relevant for a large bunch of people or not. And if you say it's a bunch of 100 people, it's very difficult to explain, to make clear why you should do that. And I'm not sure I'm capable of doing it yet. So I don't know, maybe Érica has a recipe. I don't know how to do it. I mean, I try and do it in my everyday job, but it's very hard.
Yeah, one thing, I believe you did a great point there. So business talk numbers, right? So what if you could understand those numbers and actually provide to them? So I guess that's an amazing point. How many are they, and how much does it represent for the business? But I guess it's similar to how do you advocate for research in the project?
Yes. Exactly.
Right? It's similar to that. It takes a little bit of proof of concept, let's say, to actually show the business that this will give them a much better experience. It will reduce probably the needs of materials of communication or the costs of a specific thing, because you will reduce a number of features, or you can expand the users that business could have into an experience, or you can simply have a much better and optimized experience because you did consider problems that you would end up having in the future. So there are many ways. You can talk optimization, you can talk numbers, you can show how it could be different and how they could be more competitive by having that. And it's brand as well, right? Whether if it enters in corporate social responsibility or not, it's always good to be associated to good causes. It's awful to say that, but that's the truth, right? That's why many companies actually do those programs. So you can try many ways. It depends. I guess it depends on the business, but try to show the value, and if you have numbers, drop them. That would be my take on that.
I do agree that it's very, very connected to the idea of research, because it is research. I mean, you try yourself out in an unexplored field, and this is going to make anything else you're doing much better, because you learn, and you only learn by challenging yourself and your team by doing something else. So this is a point. It's a true point, and it's real, very effective, I think.
And you know what? If people say, if the business say, we don't have money, we don't have time, so a huge watch out saying you might end up having problems in the future if we don't consider that variety of users. So I do suggest you to run those things. Maybe it's not a research at the beginning of the project, maybe it's a test afterwards. But anyways, a huge watch out saying, please take care of that. Otherwise, we might end up having any kinds of different issues in the future. I think it helps as well to emphasize the fact that you are aware that those things then have an impact for the experiences.
Thank you. You just said it's so true, actually, and it's a very focal point, I guess, within the business topic when it comes to talk about money, time, and everything like that. Actually, we have few other questions from Érica. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Do you have examples of how you deal with inclusion of people of diverse cultural backgrounds in the project you work on?
Yeah. I can think about a couple of projects we did in the past. One was working for Saudi Arabia for the Vision 2030 of the country to support the change of mindset of youth in the country. And we were working from Milan in Saudi with a completely different team, right? A team made of LGBT, of different origins, people, Latin people, Chinese, European, Americans, to actually work on a project that speaks about mindset openness of a country and how the youth of that country would then change with the changing in the country. That was an amazing project, according to me. Maybe we do have some people who actually worked on that project in this call here, listening to us. But it was an amazing opportunity to actually mix different backgrounds with people of pretty much the same age to actually help shape up a new reality for those mindsets. And another very interesting one I can think about is working with UNICEF in Lebanon to actually create a program to enhance inclusivity for marginalized youth or teens that are refugees from Syria and now work in Lebanon and need to be included in the society and the economy. So for that, it takes a lot of things, right? It takes understanding that reality, it takes education, it takes support from the government, it takes support from the local business network. So we always try to have a most diverse team as possible for those topics to actually ensure that we're covering the different angles of that. But of course, going there and observing them and living with them and try to understand what's the main issues they might have for us to solve it in a relevant way. So we always push a lot on research and observation, ethnographic research, observation, diaries, and the study of the socio-cultural environment to make sure that everything we're proposing actually has a relevance and can be implemented, because those realities are completely different from ours. So it takes a local understanding as well. So we try to catch up with local teams as well who could help us understanding the background and mediating culturally for us some of the aspects of the issues or the difficulties those communities might have in their countries or whatever they are.
Thank you. Federica, what do you think? If you have something to add.
Yeah, well, I'm just out of a very interesting experience in the museum. We have been working with a group of asylum seekers and political refugees. Last year, we set up a test. So we said, let's see if we can engage these people inside the collection. And we made a try. It worked out very nicely. It was very interesting for us and for them. And this year, with a second test, we decided to involve a couple of the people who attended the workshop in the previous year as tutors in the second edition. And we picked Patricia, she's from Nigeria, and Kaba, he's from Ivory Coast. And so they obviously have a very different background from the one we share inside the museum. They have a different cultural background. They have no education, no previous knowledge on contemporary art. And it was so great exchanging views and just listening and trying to learn. And so we discovered very many things about the collection and about all the concepts and ideas and infos which we give for granted, we take for granted, and have no meaning whatsoever for people who come from different places in the planet. And we never thought about it. I mean, it's just we did never exchange views in such a not complete, but with such a length and with time, and it was very very illuminating for us. Very it was great. And it told us that we need to do it more often and to do it, to proof test everything we do with other people with a different story. And then you see
eyes.
Meaning, different eyes. And then you see things in their complexity, or you even see that something you think it's super relevant and super interesting for someone else makes no sense. So why does it make sense to me and it doesn't make sense to you? You need to understand that. So it's a tough job, but it's very challenging.
It is. I think all our teams must be as diverse as possible, right?
Yeah.
So everything we do,
also
we should have those perspectives.
I mean, I think that Italy has to walk a very long way, yeah? In many fields, there is no diversity. There's no diversity in many areas. I think I have encountered no diversity in my professional history. It's just your average.
Which is shocking if you think about.
I mean, it's boring also, and it's not. It's not contemporary. I mean, the world is different. So
the world is changing as well, right? If we think about Italy now, and you start to see different faces, right?
Yeah.
Different typologies of Italians. That's very interesting, because 10 years ago it was completely different. Yeah, it's pretty new. I come from a different background, right? I'm a Brazilian, so I'm by default an immigrant.
Yeah.
So I came the other way around. So for me, from myself, thinking about Italy today, I can see things are changing a lot, and they will change hardly in the next few years.
Hopefully so.
It's as you said, Federica, it's challenging, but I think it's worth it.
Yes,
definitely. Thank you. Let's move on to the other question from Carolina. Carolina asks, each of us has some kind of bias. What was his bias you recognize in yourself? She specified how in your process you overcome different biases.
I'm trying to, from my perspective, trying to hear as much as possible from those different typologies of profiles Federica was saying before. So truly listening to the different voices you might have in the project. And especially if we were talking about research before, in a research phase, trying to have nuances and the opposites, the extremes of users or stakeholders of a project that might give you different perspectives. On myself, I have a lot of biases, a lot. So don't ask about myself. I'm politically incorrect. So I need to be very careful always in addressing those kinds of topics. But I guess that's my bias, right? So I'm a very ironic person. So I tend to joke with those things. But I do know that I need to be always much more careful with that and try to be respectful as well. I'm being very honest with you guys or girls.
I guess that knowing your bias, it's half the job.
Yeah, right. It's halfway through.
Federica, what about? Yeah,
I don't know. I think I'm also full of biases, which I think I don't have, and then I see them, and I don't know. It's a hard job. I think you can. I don't know. If you try hard to overcome them, you'll succeed at some point. But you need to discuss and try to understand what's there and why do you think so, and discussion with people who are not the same as you. Otherwise, there's no point. But it's I think discussion is the key, and having the idea that you have biases. So as you mentioned, it's part of the job.
I just wanna say that who we are if we don't have biases. I mean, machine don't have biases. And maybe, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, probably half and half, but it's what makes us different from machine learning and artificial intelligence, probably. I don't know.
Probably they do have bias as well, right?
Yeah,
programmed
yes.
by someone.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it could be real. Carolina says thanks, just like the other person that asked questions. Thanks a lot for your answers. I wanna call on stage Mariana and Laura that magically will appear.
Hello.
Exactly.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
If you have some other question from the audience, if someone has it, don't be shy. Just write it down on the comment, and we will ask to our great guests. Maybe there's some, unfortunately, machines have biases. Okay, so that's a fact. Machines have biases, and probably okay. We have another question from Dana. Currently, in the US, the topic of racial and gender bias is part of a large national conversation. Is the same conversation happening in Italy? So about racial and gender biases.
I think it's starting. Not yet, but it's starting. Because Italy wasn't that mixed country before, right? It's turning into a mixed population over the last 15, 20 years, probably. Maybe Federica, you can you have a more clear view than myself. So maybe because of that, right? So if you take US or Brazil or other countries as example, France, this mix of origins happened before, asking the governments to think about diversity programs that in some countries already happened from a long time now. I guess this is something starting now in Italy, or at least it's what I see happening.
Yes.
That's not such a strong government platform to discuss about that. And companies do not have guidelines on that as well. So for now, it's every single company trying to act upon those different needs. But there's nothing country-wise that actually starts that conversation or kicks off those conversations in a very hard way. I guess it's NGOs and foundations leading that type of content right now.
Thank you. What do you think, Federica? Maybe you agree. You just agree with.
I agree with Érica. I think it's, and we are late because it was not an issue. Since the population has always been very homogeneous forever. So it's starting now. It's going to be very slow anyway.
We are late in everything, even in bad things. Okay.
Maybe now with the new government it changes.
Oh yeah, maybe. Hope so. So I thanks everyone who just share their consideration and ask questions to our guests. I don't know if someone else has something to add, but I will pass the thing to Mariana, who probably
Thanks. Yes. Thanks everyone who joined us today. We just closed the form for winning a Sketch license. I'm going to do the raffle later, and then we're going to be in touch with 2 people to win a license from Sketch. So thank you very much. I think if we don't have any questions, we can close. I don't see any more questions here.
No. I don't see it as well. Maybe
yes, I would like to. Sorry.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can I do it? Can I ask? Thank you. My question is, what is the best achievement you reached by designing for inclusion? At the end, I put this tricky question.
Surprise question.
Exactly.
For myself, it's my team right now. I'm very proud of the team we've created in Continuum. And I believe they think and they advocate for that diversity of thinking, of origin, of category, if we want to say it that way. So I guess that's a great achievement, and I'm very proud of them.
Oh, that's very nice.
I still have to achieve it. I haven't achieved it yet. So maybe next time.
Okay.
Oh, you did, for sure. I'm pretty sure you did.
We'll go back to you, and you will tell us. Okay, thanks. That was my last question. No more surprises.
Érica, we have a comment from Federica before.
She's from my team. That's why she's doing
yes.
Than the Fed.
You brought supporters in.
Yeah, with banners, virtual banners.
Okay. Okay.
Amazing. So I would like to thank for your time that you spent with us today. I hope everyone learned a lot. Also, I learned a lot today. And by listening to your experience in different projects and different fields, I think it's also very important to remind us that we still have a lot of work to do, as in trying to convince more the business to go on the side of inclusion and for diversity. I hope we don't have a long way though to go through, but I think people are going to start thinking. I know that people already started to reflect about inclusion, diversity, also about the benefits of bringing this up to the companies, to different companies and different projects. But I'm glad that we're talking about this because I think it's also a start for a new discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone who joined us. We're going to be in touch with the winners of Sketch license. And stay tuned for the next event that we're going to bring with other new volunteers. They're going to be with us next time. So thank you very much and see you soon. Have a great evening. And
have a nice evening.
Bye. Wow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.